Hello and welcome. This is Ogtv Main News. I am Bukola Agbakesu. The highlights of the news. President Trump calls President Buhari, promises Nigeria ventilators. Senate approves President Buhari's 850 billion naira loan request. Germany donates additional 2 billion naira to Nigeria to fight COVID-19. UK observes nationwide silence for key workers of coronavirus death. Fears over rescheduled 2020 Olympics deepen. Opportunities to find deeper power within ourselves come when life seems most challenging. Thanks so much for joining us on the news once again. Now the news in full. President Donald Trump on Tuesday had a telephone conversation with President Muhammadu Buhari and declared support for Nigeria on the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Minister of Information Lai Mohammed disclosed this at the daily media briefing of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. He said the U.S. President promised to send across ventilators to Nigeria. Lai Mohammed revealed that the conversation of both leaders centered on the efforts of the Nigerian government to tackle the coronavirus pandemic. According to the Information Minister, President Buhari used the opportunity of the phone conversation to brief the American leader on steps Nigeria was taking to contain the spread of the disease. The Senate has approved the 850 billion naira loan request of President Muhammadu Buhari, which was read at the plenary on Tuesday. The loan request is to finance projects in the 2020 budget. The President had asked the Senate to approve 850 billion naira loan for the federal government to enable the administration to fund the 2020 budget. The Senate President Ahmed Lawan read the letter after a closed session with members when the Red Chamber resumed plenary on Tuesday. The President in the letter explained that the external borrowing will be made from the domestic capital international market. Germany has announced another financial intervention to assist Nigeria in its response to the coronavirus pandemic. Announcing in a statement via Twitter on Tuesday, the country said it is providing 5.5 million euros this time to support vulnerable people in Nigerian northeastern states of Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa. This brings Germany's contribution to the NHF to a total of 29 million euros since it became operational in May 2017, making Germany a major donor to the NHF over the past 3 years. It added that it was providing the Nigeria Police Force with 20,000 euros worth personal protective equipment, including hand disinfectants, protective clothing, surface disinfectants, face masks, clinical thermometers, and gloves, adding that the materials will be handed over to them in Abuja shortly. 2 testing centers have been established in Lagos and Ogun states. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control made this known via its Twitter handle on Tuesday. It noted that the 2 centers bring the total number of testing laboratories in the country to 17. NCDC therefore announced the inclusion of 2 new laboratories in Lagos and Ogun states, established by 54Gen in collaboration with the state governments and the NCDC. This brings the number of laboratories in a molecular laboratory network to 17 and expands national testing capacity. Report has it that no fewer than 12,004 COVID-19 samples have been tested in the country. The NCDC had on Monday announced 64 new cases of the virus in the country, bringing the total number of infections to 1,337. The center said no deaths were recorded in Nigeria in the last 24 hours and no new state has reported a case. And still on COVID-19 pandemic, Edo State has recorded 29 confirmed cases of coronavirus with 3 deaths. The state's Commissioner for Health, Patrick Okudia, has said, according to him, since the first outbreak of coronavirus in the state, A total of 254 suspected cases have been tested as of April 27. And in all of these, we have a total of 29 confirmed cases of COVID-19. 194 of these suspected cases have been confirmed negative. There is a case fatality rate of 10.3% of the 29 confirmed cases we have, with 3 deaths. So far, 8 persons have been discharged, while the total active cases that are currently under treatment in Edo is 18, and these are distributed as follows. 9 of these cases in Stella Obasanjo Hospital, 3 in University of Benin Teaching Hospital, while 3 are also receiving treatment in Irua Specialist Teaching Hospital. All the active cases are stable and they are responding to treatment. On his part, the State Deputy Governor, Philip Shuaibu, who doubles as the chairman of the Coronavirus Response Committee, said that Governor Godwin Obaseki was consulting with medical experts and other stakeholders in the state to reach a decision on new orders regarding the curfew. Nasarawa State has recorded its first confirmed case of coronavirus. Governor Abdullahi made the announcement on Tuesday morning at the government house in Lafayette. According to the governor, the index is a young lady who came into the state from Kano State last week, despite restriction in both states. And from Adamawa State, the state government has recorded another confirmed case of coronavirus. Governor Amadu Fintere made this known in a statewide broadcast on Tuesday. He said the new case is a medical doctor at the Mobi General Hospital who contracted the infection without any known travel history. Fintere said the new case, who is returning from Kano, has no link with the index case. The governor said the circumstances surrounding the new case heightened concerns of community transmission of the virus in the state. He has therefore ordered the compulsory use of face masks in public places. The residents of Abeokuta, the state capital, have continued to stay at home in compliance with the directive of the federal government to curtail the spread of COVID-19 in Ogun State. A roving crew who went around to monitor the level of compliance with the lockdown revealed that markets and other activities in town were under lockdown. Matthew Shoumi has the details.
It is indeed a trying time and unforgettable period in the history of the world, as human beings all over the world continue to cope with the effects of the ravaging pandemic that continues to wreak havoc on the socio-economic fabric. Different measures have been put in place by various governments to curtail the spread of this dangerous enemy of man through partial or complete lockdown of the country. Ogun State is one of the states in the country placed under total lockdown by the federal government, and the people of the state have been complying with this order with complete shutdown of business and other activities as observed in different parts of Abeokuta, the state capital. Security personnel were seen in strategic places to ensure compliance and nip any breakdown of law and order in the board during the stay-at-home order. Matthew Shoumi, Ogtv News.
In part 2 of the news, court in Anambra State orders police to pay lawyer 25 million naira. Join us after the break for details. Thanks so much for joining us in part 2 of the news. Towards ensuring that the present security challenges bedeviling Nigeria is nipped in the bud, all ends must be on deck in order to ensure safety of lives and property. Some security personnel who spoke with our reporter Ido Fabajo urged individuals to stay calm and always be security conscious, his report.
Lives and property will be in great danger if security issue is left to the government alone. Hence, the need to collaborate with security agencies. In the face of lockdown, as part of effort to contain the spread of coronavirus, individuals have a role to play.
Gathering together to say that we want to secure our community, it's a very, very good development. People should not abuse it, and they should also make sure that they help the communities, not because they want to oppress anybody. It's a very good development. At least they are better educated than people who are not really participating. So they know who to call, they have the phone numbers and all that. Good development, particularly people have been operating with themselves, and when they do that, they are also helping the security community.
You cannot be fighting crime and at the same time be committing crime. If you're a member of the vigilance, because that's why I encourage all our CDCs that they should make use of all the PCRC members in their locality. Burning of tires on our road is totally unacceptable. It's injurious to health and injurious to the infrastructure. And then, carrying about dangerous weapons too. 1 p.m. we have to bang one. We have to bang out. That is more havoc, especially for those with some ailments that needs to sleep.
No society, no matter how sophisticated and developed, is insulated from crime to humanity. There is a way community leaders should go about it. They explain that with timely information from members of the public, criminal elements operating within communities would be checked and crime will reduce to the barest minimum.
All what security operatives need is information. Just give information. We have said this and this is happening here. And they should be sure of what they are giving. If you are not sure of what you are hearing, don't just start talking about it. Be a bit sure of what is happening before you start calling people. Instead of making these panicking calls again, they are here, you will get nothing. They are there, you get there, you will not see anything again. What we are saying is, people should keep on fear. They should get themselves composed, and when they want to give information, it should be accurate.
As much as security is everybody's business, better security requires better and coordinated communication of issues to all required parties. Ido Fabajo, Ogtv News.
The need for all agencies in the economic policy making, business support organizations and direct business owners in Nigeria to urgently come to a roundtable talk to save the diminishing curve of the nation's economy amidst the pandemic of COVID-19 is inevitable. This was the opinion of players in the small and medium-scale enterprises as they appraised the widespread devastation of the ravaging coronavirus in the global economy, particularly in Nigeria. Peter Falomo completes the report.
The detection and announcement of the first COVID-19 case, the coronavirus pandemic, is considered to be one of the worst global pandemics in many years. The ravaging virus is seen as not only claiming many lives, economic harmful effects in the past weeks is believed to be greater than the financial crisis in 2008, spreading to no less than 3 years of pains, indicating that the COVID-19 effects on global economy may be longer than expected.
My manufacturing setup has closed down, and to restart the engines there will take me a minimum of 2 or 3 months. Our workers, our employees, they're home. They have all been sent home. Oh, they have gone home, and we are not likely to call them back for the next 3 months. So we are in for big problem, economic problem in this country.
The pandemic so far has been general with high incidence on human health, thereby causing untold hardship on people. To this end, those who spoke with Ogtv News believe that the micro, small and medium-scale enterprises is being battered in no small measure in the eyes of the storm.
The effect is very much on them. And you will see that after this lockdown, most of them will not be able to thrive again. Most companies will go under, simply because even before this pandemic, they are not so strong.
Then the state government will not be able to generate IGR from the worker's salary. And to worsen the situation, the price of oil has gone down from about 60 to 20 to about 20.
It has made it impossible for us to get our supplies from the manufacturer or from the factory. And since the supplies or the products is not made locally, we have to go from one state to another state.
As the nation's economy is fighting for survival, respondents say there is every need for the economic policymakers to ensure that they improve on other viable resources to cover the changing operating system that will cushion the effect of the nation's shrinking businesses.
Like transport, sea transportation, air transportation, like other infrastructure, most especially electricity. You see, most companies will thrive in Nigeria if we have adequate power supply.
As President announced the problem of this interstate and the relaxation that we shall be moving from one place to the other, I think that will help us, especially we distributors.
They added that with aggressive development of rural areas with necessary infrastructure, the nation's economy will experience an early boost after COVID-19 challenges. Peter Falomo, Ogtv News.
The federal government has declared Friday, May 1, 2020 as a public holiday to mark this year's International Workers' Day celebration. The Minister of Interior, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, made the declaration on behalf of the federal government in a statement signed by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Georgina Okeria. Aregbesola, who thanked Nigerians and the labor force for the sacrifices in the face of current challenges, assured that their commitment and patience will complement the efforts being made by government and other stakeholders to ensure the speedy control of the virus. The minister expressed optimism that the nation's economy will rebound and be stronger after the COVID-19 experience, taking cognizance of the various economic stabilization efforts by the federal government. The federal government has called for the adoption of safe practices in the workplace as preventive measures to reduce the risk of exposure to the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Festus Keyamo, the Minister of State for Labor and Employment, made the call on Tuesday in Abuja in commemoration of the 2020 World Day for Safety and Health at Work with the theme, Stop the Pandemic. Keyamo said that by adopting preventive measures such as good hygiene, physical distancing, use of personal protective equipment, PPE, among others, the risk of exposure to COVID-19 in workplaces will be reduced. The minister said that tens of thousands of workers had died from the pandemic, while many still attended work ill-equipped and without the necessary safety measures in place. He called on employers of labor to ensure safe and healthy working conditions, including managing the risk of exposure to infectious diseases such as COVID-19. Keyamo urged workers to cooperate with their employers and adopt safe and healthy work behaviors as part of their respective statutory responsibilities. To this end, the employer must ensure good hygiene and cleanliness of the workplace, implement physical distancing measures, ensure training of workers on infection prevention and control measures. They are also to provide the required personal protective equipment in accordance with the guidelines that have been stipulated by the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, he said. The Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, has urged employers of labor to show solidarity by ensuring job protection for workers during the coronavirus pandemic. The NLC said it has asked its affiliates and state councils to resist any salary deduction on the account of COVID-19. Labour noted this critical period of coronavirus pandemic was not the time for employers of labor to stop workers' salaries or enforce pay cuts. It noted that the stoppage of salaries or enforcement of pay cuts at this time will be illogical and illegal, as workers' salaries are core elements of employment contracts and collective bargaining agreements. NLC President Comrade Ayuba Waba stated this at a press conference to mark the 2020 International Workers' Day in Abuja. The NLC President asked governors to follow the steps of the federal government by providing insurance cover and enhanced incentives for frontline health workers. There is no date yet for schools in the country to resume, despite the announcement by President Muhammadu Buhari on a gradual lockdown relaxation on the Federal Capital Territory, Lagos and Ogun states. The federal government has said. The government also said that the West African Examination Council has not cancelled its external exams, as students will still have to go and take those exams when the government is sure to have taken good care of the pupils. The Minister of State for Education, Emeka Nwajuba, said this while replying to a question during the daily briefing by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 pandemic. The minister explained that the Federal Ministry of Education could not foresee or give any date when schools would be resuming in the country. Nwajuba noted that the federal government was not ready to put children at risk by opening schools. On security, in carrying out more effective policing of Ogun State, a total of 204 newly passed out recruit constables have reported for duty at the police headquarters Ilewero, Abeokuta. Receiving the new police entrants, the Commissioner of Police, CP Kenneth Brimson, admonished them to be good ambassadors of the force whenever they are carrying out their duty as police officers. In a statement by the Command Police Relations Officer, DSP Abimbola Ujuyemi, the CP reminded them that every police officer is a public relation officer because their action and inaction will be viewed as that of the force in general. The Commissioner of Police warned them to desist from all forms of corruption and extortion, as anyone found wanting in that regard will be shown the way out of the force. The constables have since been posted to various police divisions in their respective local government areas as directed by the Inspector General of Police in the spirit of community policing. An Anambra High Court sitting in Onitsha, Anambra State, has asked the police to pay a lawyer in the state, Mr. Ogbonaya Obase, the sum of 25 million naira as damages for torture. The court, presided over by Justice Softin Uguji, also ordered the police to tender an apology to the lawyer in a national daily. The judgment, which was delivered on Monday, saw no fewer than 30 lawyers appearing for the applicant. Obase has instituted the matter against the police following its brutalization by some police personnel attached to the Onitsha Area Command in October 2019. Obase had on the fateful day interceded in the torture of a citizen, begging the police to stop beating the man, but the officers turned round and descended on the lawyer. Delivering judgments on Monday, the court ordered the respondents to tender personal written apology to the lawyer as well as a public apology to be published in a daily newspaper. The court also ordered the police to pay the lawyer 25 million naira damages jointly and severally for assaulting the applicants and breach of the applicant's fundamental rights. The respondents, Emeka Ebo, Yakubu Abo, John Agbaka, the Inspector General of Police and Commissioner of Police, were absent in court. A 45-year-old man, Osita Izurike, on Tuesday committed suicide in his house at Umudafa local government area of Imo State. Sources at the community said the deceased expressed frustration with life over the lockdown and the dusk to dawn curfew declared by the state government, but the police had yet to ascertain why the deceased committed suicide as of the time of filing this report. Report has it that the deceased's neighbor alerted the police after discovering that he had hung himself. The police spokesperson in the state, Orlando Ikweku, said Izurike's corpse had been taken to a morgue. Ikweku also said an investigation into the incident had commenced. On the business to segment, CBN lifts suspension on check clearing system. Details after the break. Welcome to the business segment of the news. Nigeria overnight rate dropped by 20% on Monday as traders hoped the Central Bank of Nigeria would boost liquidity to ease a cash squeeze after withdrawing 1.4 trillion naira from lenders to try to support the currency. Overnight rate fell to 15% from the high of 35% on Friday after the central bank collected excess cash holdings from banks as part of measures to lift the naira. Money market rate had been 2% before the withdrawal. Traders said the CBN refunded some of the cash on Monday, helping to lower rates and fueling hopes of an extra liquidity injection coupled with a coupon payment. The Bank of Industry said it has reduced the interest rates on all its funded projects from 10% to 8%. The bank said the decision, which took effect on April 1, had been communicated to customers and partnering commercial banks. It said in a statement that the move was in line with the presidential directive on loans moratorium due to the challenging times individuals and businesses were facing as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. In responding to the directive, the bank said it has approved a moratorium period of 3 months to customers. It added that customers requiring more than 3 months could apply for a further extension of up to 1 year. The Central Bank of Nigeria has lifted suspension placed on check instruments in the Nigerian clearing system. Consequently, check instruments will be allowed to pass through the clearing system from today, April 28. In a circular to banks and Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, NIBS CBN Director Banking Services Department, Sam Okojere, said the bank lifted the temporary suspension of check clearing in Nigeria to make payments efficient for customers. He said the move was in furtherance of CBN's efforts in the development of a safe and efficient payment system in Nigeria. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has delayed publishing its future oil export plans as it negotiates with international oil companies and local players on how to cut outputs in line with a global deal on production curbs. The official selling prices for Nigerian oil, usually issued in the second or fourth week of each month, had still not been issued. The production cut deal agreed by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies is due to go into effect on May 1. OPEC, Russia, and other allied producers agreed this month to cut their combined output by 9.7 million barrels per day, or each reducing their production by more than 20%. The first round of cuts will run in May and June. And from the global scenes, more countries relax lockdown order. Join us after the break for details. Welcome back. On the world today, Britain's political leaders joined NHS staff and members of the public in a nationwide silence for key workers who have died in the coronavirus outbreak. Details with Mojisola Shulaja.
New Zealand has begun a phased exit from its coronavirus lockdown, one of the most stringent imposed anywhere in the world, with Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern claiming the country scored a significant victory against the disease. After nearly 5 weeks at the maximum level 4 restrictions, with only essential services operating, the country moved to level 3 late on Monday night. About 400,000 people returned to work on Tuesday morning as the move to level 3 allowed some businesses to reopen, schools to resume classes for some children, and delivery and take-away food outlets to open their doors. However, Ardern warned there was no certainty about when all the transmission will be eliminated, allowing a return to normal life strict social distancing remains in force. French Prime Minister Edouard Philippe reveals his government's much-awaited plan to ease the strict nationwide coronavirus lockdown to the National Assembly on Tuesday. The unveiling of the plan, which includes digital innovations to try to stem the outbreak, will be followed by a parliamentary debate and a vote. The easing of France's COVID-19 lockdown measures looks set to be a perilous process as the disease tolls continues to mount, though at a slower rate. More than a month after a nationwide lockdown was put in place, French President Emmanuel Macron announced earlier this month that the lockdown will be lifted from May 11, but he left the details relatively vague. India has cancelled orders for about 500,000 coronavirus rapid testing kits from China after they were found to be faulty. Delhi has also withdrawn the kits that were already in use in several states. The kits take around 30 minutes to deliver a result and are supposed to detect antibodies in the blood of people who may have had the infection. They help officials quickly understand the scale of infection in a particular area. China disputes India's claims. The rapid testing kits cannot test for coronavirus itself, and several scientists have raised concerns over their usage for diagnosis. A minute's silence has been held across the UK to commemorate the key workers who have died with coronavirus. Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who returned to work on Monday, joined the tribute. More than 100 NHS and care staff have died with the virus, as have many transport and other key workers. Meanwhile, the son of a doctor who died has called on the government to issue a public apology for issues with personal protective equipment. At 11 in the morning, people across the country paused to join the minute's silence. Latest statistics released on Tuesday from the Office for National Statistics, which counts all deaths, not just those in hospitals, found the number of people who died in England and Wales hit a record high in the week ending 17 April. More than 22,000 people died, the highest since records began in 1993. And that's it on The World Today.
The news. On sports news segment, UEFA set deadline for completion or cancellation of European leagues. Join us after the break for details. On sports, the postponed Tokyo Olympics will be scrapped if they cannot take place in 2021, says Games chief Yosiro Mori. Tokyo 2020 is now scheduled to run from 23rd July to 8 August next year after being delayed because of the coronavirus pandemic. Health experts have cast doubt on whether the Games could be held next summer without a vaccine or effective drugs to treat COVID-19 being found. When asked if the event could be moved again to 2022, Mori replied no. However, the Tokyo 2020 president said he was confident the rescheduled games will go ahead. FIFA's chief doctor has warned against restarting the interrupted 2019 to 2020 campaign and suggested covering bodies prepare for action next season instead. Michael De Hoop said as a doctor, he would be skeptical about continuing leagues amid the coronavirus pandemic. The chair of FIFA's medical committee said the proposal, if possible, is to avoid playing competitive football in the coming weeks. He, however, suggested that all be prepared for the start of good competition next season. Meanwhile, European leagues have until 25 May to tell UEFA whether they want to complete or cancel their seasons. Football is suspended in all European countries apart from Belarus because of the coronavirus pandemic. The Premier League has this week stepped up its plans to resume the season in what has been labeled Project Restart. The Premier League is hopeful of a potential 8 June restart and finishing at the end of July to fit in with UEFA's European competition plans. This would require full training to begin by 18 May. Top flight clubs will meet on Friday to discuss options for the restart. The deadline set by UEFA is referred to in a set of guidelines on eligibility principles for European competitions that the governing body's president and general secretary have sent out to football bodies. The French Professional Football League, Ligue 1 and Ligue 2 season have been cancelled after the country's government announced that no large sporting events will be allowed to take place until September. The decision was made as Prime Minister Edouard Philippe presented to the National Assembly on Tuesday afternoon his plan to stop all sporting activity in the country until September. The verdict means that the top 2 flights of French football, Ligue 1, will not be able to complete their remaining fixtures, while the French Cup final between Saint-Etienne and Paris Saint-Germain will not be played. Ligue 1 becomes the first of Europe's top 5 leagues to be cancelled because of the pandemic. PSG are currently 12 points clear at the top of the table with 11 games left to play. One more than second-placed Marseille. Toulouse sit bottom, 13 points adrift of safety. No decision has yet been taken over the awarding of titles or promotions and relegations, with reports in France suggesting that the football professional will meet next month to decide the outcome. Liverpool's former Republic of Ireland and striker Michael Robinson, who became a well-known commentator in Spain, has died aged 61. His family announced on Tuesday. Robinson, who settled in Spain after his retirement and had an extensive medical career, succumbed to cancer, first diagnosed in 2018. He passed away at his home in Marbella after spells with Preston North End and Manchester City. Robinson featured in the 1983 FA Cup final for Britain before moving to Anfield. He was part of the Liverpool squad that captured the League Cup and European Cup treble in 1984. And that was the sports news segment of the news. We now serve you weather forecast for Wednesday.